Welcome back. As we said, Harry Potter fever is taking over the globe once again this summer. The release of Book 7 coming out in just a couple of weeks. The release of movie number 5 coming out tomorrow. So we thought we'd take a look at what modern witchcraft is all about and the religion of Wicca. And so Reverend Heron is here from Salt Lake City. And Heron, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
So tell people just right off the bat, what is Wicca? I know it's very hard to define, and different people, even who practice it, define it differently.
That's true. Wicca is a part of what we call modern paganism or neo-paganism. It is an earth-based religion, and by that I mean it's based on the observation of the cycles of the seasons of the earth, the passage of the sun, and the cycles of the moon, phases of the moon.
And, you know, when you say it's neo-pagan, when you use a word like paganism, people get very nervous, they get very afraid.
That's correct. And that's because there's a lot of stigma attached to the words like pagan or witch or witchcraft, and that's because it's been used as a very negative term for a very long time, for hundreds of years, to denote people who were not Christian, who were not part of the Catholic Church, who were not part of Roman society even, because pagan goes back to the term pagani, which in Roman times was used to refer to people who lived out in the country, who were not part of the Roman Empire.
And so, I mean, this is, again, it goes back, paganism or neo-pagan, this is something that, predates Christianity and really all all sort of modern organized religions by hundreds and thousands of years.
Well, some of the ideas behind it do. That's very true. Modern paganism seeks to draw inspiration from these ancient cultures. It seeks to return to the roots of humanity when we didn't have organized religions, when we just were out in the wild and we worshiped by these cycles of the seasons, and our lives were not controlled, but our lives were guided by these cycles of the earth and the sun and the moon, and the way that the sun moved through the sky, the phases of the moon as it moves through the sky also.
So how is Wicca paganism, how is it practiced these days? We said it's modern witchcraft. Are you out there casting spells and making potions and whatnot?
Absolutely. We do. We do cast spells. We do create potions. We do all of these things are sort of associated with traditional thinking behind witchcraft. However, we think of spells as sort of a directed prayer, if you will. So if we need something to happen in our lives, like we need healing or we need love to come into our lives or we need more abundance in our lives, we will do a form of directed prayer that allows this energy to enter our lives. And that's really what spell casting is.
But it's done in a very sort of controlled way. It's not like in Harry Potter. You're not running around with wands and zapping people with sparks and other things.
I wish I had a wand that I could just light up and at the word lumos, and maybe somebody will invent one. However, we don't do that kind of magic.
So what has been sort of the reaction of the Wicca community to Harry Potter, and sort of, since it came out, there has been both an outcry in a number of communities saying it promotes witchcraft and the occult and whatnot, and how does the Wicca community deal with that?
Well, most of the witches that I know love Harry Potter. It's a great fantasy. It's a wonderful story. I don't think any of us would not want to go to a place called Hogwarts and study witchcraft as a child. I mean, that would have been great. It's a great fantasy. A lot of people embrace it. Some people say, well, it's just a kid's story or it's harmless, and it really is. It's just, what you put into it is what you get out of it. So, the people that are going around crying about, well, it leads children into fantasy, so does all of the other types of entertainment out there. I mean, you have TV, it's all fantasy, really.
Yeah.
Even reality TV is based on fantasy.
And for the people who say, it draws people into study of the occult and dark magic and whatnot, one of the things that I've read about Wicca is that it is an initiate religion, in that it's not just something that is passed down through just happenstance of birth. you actually have to seek it out and go through a number of stages to join.
Well, some traditional witchcraft, that's true. Some people just feel like they were born witches, and then they come into the craft and they start meeting people who are like them, and they start studying different things, and it just feels natural to them. You know, to go out in nature and say, wow, this is where I feel the most spiritual, is one of the things that witches really do the most. I wouldn't say that Harry Potter draws people into witchcraft, because there's really not a lot of actual occult or witchcraft in Harry Potter. To me, the Harry Potter stories are about the triumph of the human spirit, about the triumph of friendship over darkness, the triumph of, you know, people bonding together in order to fight evil. And that really is just, it cuts across human nature, you know, it cuts across a lot of genres. You know, it's really a story about the human nature and not really about witchcraft and the occult.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned that this is a religion of nature that follows,
Yes.
you know, cycles of the seasons. Utah obviously is a place of great nature.
Yes.
Is Wicca growing? Is there a large community that celebrates it here in the state?
Absolutely. There is a great, big, huge community out there. There are thousands of pagans in Utah. One of the things I've heard a lot is when people come and they find actually other people in the community, they say, I had no idea that there were people even here, other pagans, and so they didn't even bother to look because they thought there was nobody else. And then when they find us, they go, wow, this is great. You know, there's so many of you out here.
And what is probably the best way to find other folks out here, if people are interested in finding more?
There's a lot of websites out there. There are a couple of very large open groups that allow people to come and experience paganism. My group is one of them, the Church of the Sacred Circle, sacredcirclechurch.com. You can also find us through Goddess Circle, which is run by the Order of Our Lady of Assault. There's a calendar out there called the Utah Pagans Calendar. Also, the Witch's Voice, or Witch Box, has a Utah section. You can find a lot of people. There's a lot of networking.
That's fantastic. All right, now you say you don't have you're not running around with a wand, and you may not have, carry cauldrons and send messages via owl, but you did bring one of the objects that you do use in your rituals, and tell me a little bit about this, and it'll sort of send us out.
Okay, this is called a crystal singing bowl. This is something that I use quite commonly for meditation, for spells, for things like that. My personal belief is that energy is composed of vibration, and this bowl is a way to meditate, it's a way to heal, it's a way to balance our body energy, our soul energy, our spirit energy, and helps us to be a calmer, better person.
Can you give us an example
Sure.
of how it sings? Reverend Heron, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
We'll be back with a whole lot more right after this.